The closet. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavalapa Girivardhari Gopi Janavalapa Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishwabhad Paramahamsa Parivajapacharya Vaishyottara Shatashish Madhus Divine Grace Ace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Kantrad Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. All glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So, if everybody could please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda So this morning we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 13, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Rath Yatra. All right. A summary of this chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. After bathing early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the deities, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, get aboard their 3 cars. This function is called Pandu Vijay. At that time, King Prataparudra took a broom with a golden handle and began to cleanse the road. So we're reading this because within about a week, because here we have our Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Didi, so within about a week, they're in seclusion now, so within about a week they'll come out for the Rath Yatra at a local park. So we're reading about the Rath Yatra, so we could try to meditate what's going on, what's happening. King Prataprudra, it says that it's written here that he would go and he would sweep the road before Jagannath's cart. And sometimes devotees, nowadays even, they dress up as King Prataprudra. They have a nice crown on and a nice king outfit on, and they have a broom and they sweep. I saw that in Mexico anyways. I didn't see that in LA so much. Maybe you could do that next year, Dhammaraj, to LA Rath Yatra, and dress up as King Prataprudra, and you could say, just for the parade, and then later you could put on your regular clothes. Oh yeah, people sweep. Lord Jagannath took permission from the goddess of fortune and then started in the car for the Gundicha temple. The road to the temple led along a broad sandy beach, and on both sides of the road were residential quarters, houses, and gardens. Along that road, the servants called Gaudas began to pull the cars. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided his Sankirtan party into 7 divisions. With 2 mridangas in each division, there were altogether 14 mridangas. While performing kirtan, Mahaprabhu exhibited various symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, and Jagannath and Mahaprabhu exchanged their feelings very blissfully. When the cars reached the place known as Balagandi, the devotees offered the deities simple food. At this time, in a nearby garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees took a brief rest from the dancing. Alright, so this is text 1. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please hear the description of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijay. During this ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the car. So since Lord Chaitanya's time and since ever, devotees have been getting up in the dark. That's what Prabhupada that's how it's translated, that Mahaprabhu and his associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning bath. So they got up and cleansed themselves, and then they began their spiritual activities. So Prabhupada and all of our acharyas recommend us to get up before sunrise and to engage in spiritual activities, because that's the best time for spiritual activity or meditation, chanting Hare Krishna, because different parts of the day are conducted by different modes of material nature. For example, the mode of ignorance is nighttime. Some people, they say they're more productive at night. I don't know, reading or writing or something like that. Of course, Prabhupada would get up really early in the morning, which was technically nighttime, but after resting he would do that. But sometimes people stay up late, and they have this idea, I'm a late night person. Whereas ultimately a sattvic person or a person in the mode of goodness, they like to take rest early because they like to wake up early. Whereas somebody who likes to take rest late, usually because taking rest late, you can't wake up early. because it's difficult, because the body needs a certain amount of rest. So, of course, nowadays, not so many people know this. In postmodern age, they don't know this, and therefore they just sleep a long time, as long as possible. Not everybody, but they sleep, especially on the weekends. They sleep in. So, so the idea is that a lot of people have been trained like that growing up, So the idea is to reverse that, to try to get into the habit of going to sleep at a reasonable time, early, as early as possible, and waking up early. So that's very important for spiritual life. As our friend, Thoreau said, right? Early to rise, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man or woman healthy, happy, and wise. So it's Prabhupada. I believe Prabhupada quoted that in a talk one time. So that's important. So to kind of reorient ourselves to be operating on the mode of goodness. Now, of course, sometimes for preaching or outreach type of programs, we may stay up late. But it's also important, even though that's there, to wake up early as possible the next day as well. But if one's not engaged in some type of outreach, practically speaking, there's no real need to stay up. So anyways, that's there. So Lord Chaitanya says they got up, he set an example, he got up early in the morning and engaged in spiritual activities. So we're also doing that. King Prabhu in person, as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijay ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya and his prominent devotees, Advaitacharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Rath Yatra. The very strongly built Daitas. Does anybody remember what Daitas means? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the carriers. Yeah, carriers of Jagannath. Yeah, that's the meaning. The carriers of Jagannath deity were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried the Lord from the throne to the car. While carrying the deity of Jagannath, some of the Daitas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord and some caught his lotus feet. Lord Jagannath was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of silk. From two sides of the Daitas caught hold of this rope and raised the deity. Strong, puffed-up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next. While the Daitas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke and the cotton contents floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy cracking sound. Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will, just to perform his pastimes. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Lord Chaitanya was chanting. Remember what he was chanting? Mani Ma, Mani Ma. But he could not be heard. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that Mani Ma is used to address a respectable person in Orissa. Lord Jagannath was being respectfully addressed by Lord Chaitanya. So this is text 15. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood-scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. So I'll just say it before we continue. Om Meganitavarandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshulam Mutamini Tasma Shigravedam Ha Mukam Karivachalam Pangam Langate Ganim Yakripa Tamaham Vande Shigurum Diditaranam Vancha Kaptri Bishcha Kripa Sundabevacha Patitanam Pavane Bil Vaishnave Bil Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, this verse, although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. So I was telling some devotees yesterday that there's one sannyasi, ISKCON sannyasi, part of the Harekrishna movement, and part of his program every year is he would go to India, as many devotees do. They go to India usually for Kartik, which is October, November usually, and Gaur Pranim time, Lord Chaitanya's appearance in March, February, March. So this devotee would go to Kartik, and he would engage in a lot of austerities. He would just chant a lot of rounds, and he would eat very little and sleep very little, and practically not associate with anybody. That was his program. So, so at one particular, he was doing that, but he wasn't really feeling the mercy descending down, like through the holy name. He wasn't feeling the mercy of the holy name, although he was chanting so much. Sometimes devotees, they may say, "Oh, well, I'm not really feeling the bliss of the holy name. It's mechanical. My mind's going over the place. I'm not really feeling it. I'm not feeling the bliss." Whereas maybe before I was. And there's many reasons why that might be happening. But anyways, in this particular case, the devotee, what he did is he said, "Okay, I need to do something to solve this problem, because it's a problem actually. If one's not feeling the bliss of the holy name, it's a problem. It's a big problem." And not that it's like, all right, well, this isn't working out, so let me give it up. That's called being lazy or insincere. Oh, this isn't working, we just give it up. So he didn't, but because he's intelligent and sincere and not lazy, he said, "Oh, let me solve this problem." And so what he did is he thought, okay, I need to do some menial service. I need to do some humble service. So what he would do is he would wake up very early in the morning so nobody else could see what he was doing, the devotional activity he was doing, and he would sweep all around Radhakund. He'd take a broom and sweep all the way around Radhakund. And the reason he did it while no one could see is because he didn't want to become puffed up or proud and people go up to him and say, "Oh, you're such a nice devotee, and look at nice service you're doing," and then it just ruins the whole idea behind him doing the humble service. Of course, sometimes people don't want to do humble service where other people could see because, I don't know, maybe they think themselves in like a big position or something and they don't want somebody to see them doing humble service. Like King Pratapuruja, he didn't care. He's very humble and he's just sweeping. He didn't care people, "Oh, I'm the king." There was apparently one fellow here at the temple, Tirthamaj was telling me, he wouldn't clean when any of the guests were here. He would wait till all the guests leave after the Sunday feast, and then he would clean, because he didn't want people to see him cleaning. So this devotee, he would be cleaning in Vrindavan around Radhakund, and after that service, he felt like there was some mercy coming, some descent of mercy of the holy name, some bliss. So, yeah, that was interesting. So this is text 18. Upon seeing the king engaged in such menial service, Lord Chaitanya became very happy. Simply by rendering this service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. So what's true 500 years ago, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, is also true now. It didn't change. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath cart. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was high as Mount Sumeru. So Prabhupada writes a very interesting purport here. He says, in the year 1973, there was a gorgeous Rath Yatra festival in London, England, and the car was brought to Trafalgar Square. The London daily newspaper, The Guardian, published a front-page photo caption, and this is what it said. ISKCON Rath Yatra is rival to the Nelson Column in Trafalgar Square. The Nelson Column is a very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance. So this Rath Yatra car was like a competition. Just as the residents of Puri compared the Rath Yatra car to Mount Sumeru, the residents of London considered the car a rival to the Nelson Monument. Yeah, so that's kind of amusing. This is text 20. The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras, white wisps made of yak tails. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. For the pastimes of the Rath Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balarama got aboard two other cars. For 15 days the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune and had performed his pastimes with her. Having taken permission from the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord came out on the Rath car and the Lord came out to ride on the Rath car and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Yamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the car were known as, you know these ones, Dharmaraj? Wow, pretty good. Godas. And they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of an ordinary person. As the car stood still, Lord Chaitanya gathered all his devotees and with his own hand decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Lord Chaitanya. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaitacharya Nityananda felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. Mahaprabhu also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Srup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. There were altogether 4 parties of kirtan performers comprising 24 chanters. In each party there were also 2 mridanga players, making an additional 8 persons. When the 4 parties were formed, Lord Chaitanya, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Lord Chaitanya ordered Nityananda, Advaita, Haridas, Thakur, and Vrikeshwara Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Srup Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. The 5 who responded to the singing of Srup Damodar were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Datta, Raghava Pandit, and Sri Govindananda. Advaitacharya was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur as a chief man. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Sriman, Shubhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. All right, well, how about this one, Dharmaraj? You know what Shubhananda is famous for? Yeah. All right, well, we stumped you there then. You got 3 questions right, but 4th one. Shubhananda, he is famous for, so Lord Chaitanya was dancing during the Rath Yatra car, as you see here. He's dancing. So, and you see, anyways, maybe you can't see, but there's a devotee here, and he's, yeah, like this. he's with his hands out. So Lord Chaitanya, it says that he's crying, and Shubhananda's catching the tears. It doesn't really say. He's just catching. I'm not sure what he's doing, but also the saliva of Lord Chaitanya is catching. That's what it says too. But the picture doesn't depict that, because maybe that would be too difficult. But the tears also he's catching. So Shubhananda is doing that. Transcendental tears of Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, Lord Chaitanya. That's what Shubhananda is famous for. Advaitacharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. Okay. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudeva, Gopinath, and Murai. All these were responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Another two persons, Sri Kant and Vallabha Sain, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur, was the dancer. The Lord formed another group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as a leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas, and Raghava were the responding singers. Two brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vasudeva Ghosh also joined this group as responsive singers. Rakeshwara Pandit was the dancer. So then it goes on. So it says King Prataparudra, this is text 60. Because Lord Chaitanya, he would expand himself or duplicate. The 7 kirtan parties would see Lord Chaitanya in the kirtan party. So it's not that Lord Chaitanya was just in one kirtan party, he was in all 7 of them presently. But only certain devotees could see that. And it said that King Prataparudra, Lord Chaitanya gave King Prataparudra the benediction of being able to see that because of his service of sweeping before Lord Jagannath. So that's explained. That's explained here also. Yeah, that's true. Who could understand? That's also mentioned here. Who could understand the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? And then it says that Lord Chaitanya, he prayed to Jagannath when he saw him there on the cart. He said many prayers. And then it says, Lord Chaitanya danced and jumped high, roaring like thunder and moving in a circle like a wheel. He appeared like a circling firebrand. Whenever Lord Chaitanya stepped while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to tilt. Lord Chaitanya danced, he displayed various blissful transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned. Sometimes the hair of his body stood on end. Sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed color. And sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. Lord Chaitanya fell down with a crash while dancing. He would roll on the ground. At such times it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Nityananda would stretch out his 2 hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaitacharya would walk behind the Lord and loudly chant, Hari Bol, again and again. Just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord, the devotees formed 3 circles. With his hands on the shoulders of Hari Chandana, King Prataparudra could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. And then it goes on, Lord Chaitanya's dancing. He said, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All these symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and the hairs of his body stood on end. His body resembled the shumili, silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. Indeed, the people became afraid just to see his teeth chatter, and they even thought that his teeth would fall out. Lord Chaitanya's whole body flowed with perspiration, and at the same time Whose blood? He made the sounds Jaja Gaga, in a voice choked with ecstasy. So he couldn't say Jagannath. So he was trying to say Jagannath, but he couldn't say. So Jaja Gaga. Tears came forcefully from the eyes of the Lord as if from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. Everyone saw the complexion of his body change from white to pink, so that his luster resembled that of a malika flower. Sometimes he appeared stunned, and sometimes he rolled on the ground. Indeed, sometimes his legs and hand became as hard as dry wood, as he did not move. When the Lord fell to the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives also became very feeble. So all this is going at the Rath Yatra. Water flowed from his eyes and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. These flowings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon. The foam that fell from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya was taken and drunk by Shubhananda, because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellow of ecstatic love. Lord Chaitanya had performed his devastating dance for some time. His mind entered in a mood of ecstatic love. After banning the dancing, the Lord ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. So Prabhu says this song refers to Radharani's meeting with Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Krishna and his brother and sister came to visit when there was a solar eclipse. It is a song of separation from Krishna. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Mahaprabhu again became rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Jagannath began to move slowly while the son of Mother Shachi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Lord Chaitanya then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers. So, yeah. All right. So then he starts getting into the internal moods of the residents of Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya, and they're speaking all different types of verses about the gopis and Vrindavan. And then it goes on, dancing. Eventually they go to the garden where they take some rest. And King Prataparuja eventually, which Lord Chaitanya was refusing his to give him any interview with him. King Prataparuja, due to his service and surrender, devotees let King Prataparuja come dressed as a simple Vaishnava and massage Lord Chaitanya in this garden, his legs, and chant verses about Krishna. That's a nice coming up. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Dharmaraj. To inspire you. Don't you feel inspired? I feel inspired. The purpose is, he's coming to experience he's Krishna coming to experience the bliss of, or the happiness, or the mood of Srimati Radharani. So, as Gaur Govinda Maharaj says, Prabhupada disciple, he said, Granga Mahaprabhu is absorbed in Radha Bhav. So he's absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he's experiencing that happiness that comes from Krishna consciousness. So he's displaying all these things so we could read about it, so people could read about it and be inspired, and in our own way develop love for Krishna. Not in our own way, but means that we probably won't reach that level in this life, but we could reach high levels where we could experience some of these things. Yeah, maybe not the blood, or certain things like that, but some of the things, because, yeah. So that's the idea. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? A webcam? I don't think so.
Recently I've seen somebody taking their phone and then you put it on, you can see Jagannath.
Oh, really? In the temple? Like every day they do it? Oh, really? But that's not allowed, technically, right? Oh, I see. It's some pujari who does it? Oh, really? That's funny. Because generally, I thought that a lot of times in India, they don't want you taking pictures or videos. It's India. Sometimes the laws take a little while to come in. But Jagannath, he comes out, and everybody could see him then, in Jagannath Puri. But I also think that they have when Rath Yatra comes, they have a recording of that, right? That they have the video. They have Jagannath coming out, and then getting on the cart, and then going. I actually never saw that. I should see that. No. You could disguise yourself. Gotta paint your body, or sometimes they sneak into the temple, So, but you might get in trouble if you get caught. Yeah. All right. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.